Welcome back, engineers. We have started to discuss architectural styles, and in the previous video we learned a few of the architectural characteristics that are important while making a decision about an architectural style, right? So let's start our discussion about the different architectural styles that are available, the most common ones and popularly used ones, and we'll start with the layered architectural style in this video. I hope you're ready. Let's get started. So the layered architecture style, also known as the N-tier architecture style, is actually quite popular and is used in many applications, mainly in web applications, right? So when you are getting some requirements, you can either slice the requirements into systems on a technical level or at a functional level, right? At a domain level. So this architecture style is particularly known for technical slicing, right? We are breaking down the components into technical layers. Okay, let's see how that looks like. So this style has mainly 4 layers: presentation layer, business layer, persistence layer, and database layer. And by the names of them, you can probably infer what they actually mean. Presentation layer takes care of handling the UI, right? UI UX side of things. So business layer stands in between presentation and persistence layer, and business layer takes care of all the functional logic, the core algorithms, the core business logic, the use cases and the functional requirements, right? And persistence layer talks to the database layer, takes the input from the business layer and talks to the database layer, right? So this is the abstraction of the database layer with respect to business layer. So this is where we use things like ORMs or any other database utilities to actually talk to the database, make queries and so on. And finally, the database layer is where we have the actual data residing. Now let's see some of the features of this architectural style. The first feature is that it is technically partitioned, right? Like we have discussed before, the layers are divided due to technology. The UI technology is different, business layer is different, persistence layer technology is different, and database technology is different, right? So it is technically partitioned, and we get a clear separation of concerns between the layers, right? So business layer will not directly talk to database layer, persistence layer will not talk to presentation layer, and so on. So everybody has their own responsibility and they will take care of that. And various topologies are possible with this. So when it comes to deployment, right, you can choose to put all of them in one big box and use that as a monolith, or you can actually split them. You can actually separate out presentation layer. Maybe you want these two in one deployment, this as a separate deployment, and so on. So depending on the deployment need, we can actually change this, but the layering remains the same, right? And finally, we get isolation. We can actually choose to open or close any of the layers, right? For example, if it is a closed layer system, the request must go through all the layers in order to get a response. So let's say a request is coming to the presentation layer. Maybe user is filling up some kind of a registration form and that data needs to be saved in the database, right? So presentation layer cannot directly talk to the database layer in a closed system. It needs to go to the business layer. Here maybe some validations are happening, some business logic is applied on top of it, and then it goes to the presentation layer where actually query building happens as to what data needs to be exactly saved in the database. Maybe there are some additional parameters that are going along with the existing data, right? And finally, it reaches the database layer where the data is saved and the response travels back layer to layer and finally reaches the destination, who is the user, right? So this is how a closed system works. In an open system, we can actually open a couple of layers. Maybe business layer can directly talk to database layer, let's say, in some cases, if that is a requirement, right? So that's the flexibility we get using this architecture. So let's see when to use this architecture. This is very useful when we have simple applications, websites, and we can actually use this as a starting point when we are building out an architecture. We can put everything into one box and then we'll see how to separate them out into different architectural styles, which we'll discuss as we go along in this series, right? So this is a good starting point to work with. And what are the trade-offs? So this comes with low cost because it is generally built into a single monolith and deployed as a single unit. There can be some exceptions like we have discussed before due to different available topologies or the flexible topologies. And it is a simple monolith. And the cons are deployability. One change will deploy the whole thing again, right? If you change anything in any layer, the whole system will need to be deployed. And there is also an issue with testability. With one change, we have to do full regression of all the layers if it is a single monolith. So it's like running the whole test suite for all the services inside all the layers just because of one change in any one layer, right? And scalability is a challenge because it is not a modular design. right? So these are some of the pros and cons of this architectural style, right? Very simple, very easy to understand, and quite popular actually when we are starting out with any applications, right? So that's all for this layered architectural style, guys. In the next video, we'll look at the next architectural style. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you found this helpful. Please subscribe if you haven't done already. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.